95% of the cotton in India is now controlled by Monsanto. The dream of the genetic engineers is to engineer a superior seed. And the claim they make is it'll produce more food, it'll have higher yields, it'll be resilient to pests, it'll be able to grow without being competed with through weeds, and it'll have higher levels of climate resilience. Now, none of these claims has actually been borne true. In the 20 years of commercialization, there has been what we call a failure to yield. Yield has not increased because yield is in the characteristics of the crop into which the genetically engineered traits are introduced. You can't engineer yield, it's too complex a trait. And that is why the claim is a false claim. How much a crop will bear, how resilient it will be to the climate, to drought, to floods, to temperature, are all multi-genetic traits. Many genes come into play. They have to be like an orchestra. It cannot be a lone player. And the only traits that can play alone in a single gene are toxic traits, like the trait for herbicide resistance, like the trait for pest resistance. Now, this is all we've actually had in 20 years of commercialization. Roundup Ready crops and Bt toxin crops. The first was supposed to control weeds, the second was supposed to control pests. The reality is that because a plant is not an isolated organism, it's constantly interacting with the environment. The traits of herbicide resistance has moved into weeds, and weeds have become super resistant and super weeds. And today 50 million acres in America has been overtaken by weeds that are resistant to Roundup. So now they're spraying Agent Orange on the fields of America as if it was the Vietnam War all over again. But there's a double problem with genetic engineering, and that is related to the fact that having genetically engineered a plant, corporations turn around and say, now we've made new life. And we are therefore inventors and creators of life. Therefore, we are owners and should have patents on life. And as far as the seed is concerned, this leap in terms of property rights on life itself is the most serious threat to seeds of diversity, seeds of freedom that are in the hands of peasants. Once a company like Monsanto starts to see royalty collections from every seed, it pushes its genetically engineered crops to replace the native crops that farmers and peasants have grown over millennia. That is why you see herbicide-resistant corn, herbicide-resistant soya exploding in acreage. It's related totally to the royalty collection. That is why you see Bt cotton exploding in India. The seed costs jumped 8,000% when Monsanto brought in its GM seeds. In less than 10 years, 95% of the cotton seed supply is now in Monsanto's hands. 1,500 varieties of native cotton have disappeared forever. And we now have one lethal toxic cotton, which is why it's so important to have seed banks, to have farmers save their seeds, which is what we do in Latanya. And we've been able from there to find 5 seeds of an old cotton, to multiply it, and now we're distributing it. I just had a ceremony of distribution for 200 farmers. Every year Monsanto is pulling out of poor peasants 10 billion rupees worth of royalty collection. And they're fighting cases in India arguing that they have every right to charge what they want to because this is about their intellectual property and the government cannot intervene. And we are fighting cases on this issue of monopoly over seed. These monopolies don't just destroy biodiversity, they don't just destroy the farmers' freedom to have their own seed, they're also killing farmers. Because when the seed costs jump so high, when the inputs needed for those seeds increase the cost of cultivation, farmers get into debt. And the debt is so high, farmers know they can never repay it. They mortgage their land gets taken away, and 250,000 farmers have committed suicide in India since the seed supply started to get monopolized by corporations like Monsanto. The dream is sold to the farmers by mobilizing every god and every divinity in videos which are brought village to village. And so you have Guru Nanak in Punjab, who is the founder of the Sikh religion, selling Roundup. You have Hanuman, the monkey god in the Ramayana, selling BT cotton. In every region you mobilize the most popular saint or divinity. And there are lots in India. And the farmers have such faith. They've never heard a Hanuman tell a lie. So the false dream is sold through our mythologies, our sacred texts, and our faiths and beliefs. And the second way in which the dream is sold is by false claims and exaggerated claims. For example, Monsanto came into India claiming that its BT cotton would grow 1,500 kilograms of cotton per acre. And they would have farmers saying this. So we tracked some of the farmers in the advertisement. A particular farmer called Radhesham is saying, I got 2,000 kilograms on my feed per acre. We find out he got 2,000 on 5 acres, not per acre. So they just change the acreage and they tell a lie. They have a picture of a farmer in Tamil Nadu with a tractor behind him saying, BT Cotton allowed me to buy this tractor. When investigations are done, the farmer says, I've had this tractor for 20 years, I only bought the cotton seed last year. So they tell lies, they fabricate, and innocent farmers who've never had a lie told to them around the seed issue, for them seed has been such a source of reliability that they can't even imagine that lies could be told. They can't imagine their gods and divinities telling them lies, and that's how they get trapped in the new myth of the miracle seed. Saving the seed is vital to the future of humanity, because if there is no living seed, there is no living food, there is no living culture. We will for a while stretch ourselves, eating bad food, eating junk, eating toxins, but life will continue to dissipate on the planet and in our lives. That's why we must honor the seed and the seed keepers. We must give them respect and not just treat this as an issue of a museum, but as a source of the renewal of a new phase of humanity's evolution.